Hello and welcome. I'm Patsan, and this is the first game I've ever cast. I've been looking at r/r/cast it for quite a while and been wanting to get in on the StarCraft community, so here's my first attempt. This is a 1v1. It's Zerg versus Terran with the blue, whose name is cDgQiw. I think I might just call him DQ. And we have the red Zerg up here, who is Shawshank. Like I said, this is a diamond match. I have not watched it before. I have no idea what to expect, and I really don't know how my casting experience is going to be or what my niche is going to be. I do know that I love StarCraft. I play it every day, and I also enjoy watching it. So, as we see here, we see nothing really special. We do have the Overlord scouting, so the Zerg is going to give away his position as well as knowing where the Terran is. Scouting can be tricky. I don't know whether to recommend going straight in with your Overlord and giving your position away with the Terran. This is a pretty far rush distance, but still an early Marine coming up your ramp as a Zerg can give you a lot of trouble. I don't know if that's something we'll see in a diamond game. It usually requires a lot more attention and micro than most people are willing to give. So we do have the barracks going down right here. We do have an Overlord going this way. I think a lot of people probably neglect their Overlord spread. If you can throw an Overlord here or here, this is a good spot because of these weeds. They can give you a lot more vision, especially detect things like Reapers or Vikings or any sort of drop that's coming in. Okay, this is interesting. We do have a 15 hatch going down. 15 hatch is one of my favorite builds. I do play Zerg, and the thing that 15 hatch lets you do is you still get the fast speed upgrade because, there's a variation on this build. So we've got a 14 pool. So we're not going to be seeing any fast speed here. We might see some roach play, or we might see some normal Zerglings. But the thing that laying that pool down after your hatchery does for you is it lets you to get those two queens at the same time. It's much easier, in my opinion, to time your injects if they're both going down from the beginning. So we have the gas going down now, an orbital command, and one Marine. We've got somebody shooting over here. Oh, we have a gas still happening from Shawshank. So here's that orbital command. As a Terran player, you definitely want to get your orbital command. Usually around 16 to 18 supply. That's about the limit. I have heard some people say that if you use a scan, you're doing it wrong. Okay. The main advantage of the orbital command is this little guy right here, this mule. He's going to have a higher income rate, a higher production rate than your typical FCV, and he's going to help you get ahead, especially when you deal with a fast expanding Zerg. Now, I'm pretty sure that cDQ does not know. Oops, I'm a noob. cDQ does know about the fast expand. So we'll see how that goes down. Now, typically what you want to do with the fast expand is put down pressure as soon as possible, and that's what I see cDgQiw, whatever his name is. Sorry, I know you're the one that posted this on Reddit. I apologize. So, kind of surprised he's not pushing out, and we do see some early Zerglings here. Now, I think he's making a mistake by not sending these down all four together. We have a couple more right here. I'm not sure why they're left on the top of the ramp, maybe to respond to pressure, but these Zerglings are going to die. There goes one. As a player using ranged units, you always want to abuse the ramps, the high ground, anything you can, because if those melee units get on top of you, you lose your advantage. Okay, we do see speed going down, and as well as a Roach Warren, and we see two Hellions coming out of the Terran player cDgQiw. DQ. So this is interesting. Yep, right here we should see the spine crawler is what I'm going to say, and this is a very typical place to place your spine crawler. It's going to cover most of this front area here, as well as covering up the ramp. Something that's good for Zerg to do as well in this sort of situation is get both your queens, because both of those fat queen booties will block this ramp right here. So I'm a little skeptical of Shawshank here with this fast expand. I guess there's a few more drones coming in, but really by 6.5, 7 minutes, if you're on a fast expand, you're losing your advantage if you're not droning up very hard. Okay, we still have 4 more drones and 1 roach on the way. We do have this bunker going down. It's right here. So what DQ is trying to do is secure the expansion, which is definitely a must considering that his opponent has already expanded and has the income up advantage. You will see they are pretty much even right now. I guess that just goes to reinforce the fact that mules are very important. Our Terran player obviously is better saturated than our Zerg player. We do have a little combat going down here. It looks like those spine crawlers held off the Hellions for now. Of course, Hellions doing extra damage to light. Spine crawlers count as armored, so those are pretty good against Hellions. We do have the Roaches as a response to the Hellions, which is good. I don't like it personally. I prefer Speedlings, especially when you don't have the Squirt Gun, the Blue Flame upgrade. I think Speedlings are a much more versatile unit than Roaches, and I actually don't play Roaches very often at all against Terran, just because Marauders are so good, especially early game, which is when Roaches are good. So, not much point to that, in my humble opinion. So we do have a couple units going down in the bunkers, and we have our first siege tank. I guess I should throw up the production tab. Siege tech is on the way, as is Banelings. Now, that's an interesting play here. Trying to figure out the Zerg's thought process here. What has he seen? He's seen Marines, he's seen Hellions, so he uses Banelings, which go extra against light. Baneling Roach, I'm not totally sold on. I'd rather see a Baneling Speedling combination, but we'll see how it works out. Now, one thing that's very important I'm seeing in this game here is that the Terran player is dominating the map control. We saw him just kill that Zergling down here, and he's also controlling the watchtower here. So he sees these Roaches coming. Now, if he's watching the minimap, are you DQ? DQ, you're not watching the minimap. You're going to lose your lost one Hellion. Now, of course, Hellions can speed away from these Roaches, but I'm really confused about what our Zerg player is doing. It looks like our Terran player is going for a typical Marine tank push. This is very good against Zerg. Personally, I have a really hard time executing it well. I think a lot of players will QQ about Terran being overpowered because they get beat by this sort of push once or twice. All a Zerg has to do is catch you with your siege tanks down, with your pants down, and basically you lose if he does it right. Okay, you get some Zerglings and some Banelings. Now this Zerg player should see this by now. You gotta watch the mini-map. Okay, I think his response there was a little late, which allowed his siege tanks to siege up. Now these Marines are going to be essential for protecting the siege tanks from the Banelings. Or not the Banelings, I'm sorry, from the Speedlings. Speedlings are actually pretty good against siege tanks as long as they're not protected, if they're exposed, because obviously they can't move. You get a surround pretty quickly. They can't shoot anything next to them, and there you go. Now these Banelings are too late. If I didn't know that this game was going to 17 minutes, I would say that this game is probably going to end right here, as long as he doesn't overextend himself. Now this is a good idea, putting the tank over here. Now we have, ooh, we're going to lose the Queen. That's bad. So here comes the Baneling and Speedling retaliation. The Roaches engaged as well. And it looks like our Terran player just didn't have enough to finish off that push. I thought he did. I thought maybe he would have made some execution mistake, but that was quite well. Now, as a Zerg, you always want to play in response. It's kind of, I don't know if any of you play Magic. You've always got something on the stack, and you want to play in response to it. Now, the question is, how is our Zerg going to respond to what he has seen in that Marine tank push? Let's see what units we have on the field right now. We've got a ton of Marines out. We've got more Zerglings, a few siege tanks, and a few Marauders. Those Marauders will tear right through these Roaches. Let's see what our Terran player is doing. He's got a nice wall right here. People don't do this often enough, I don't think, especially against Zerg when you've got Zerglings that can just run right past you. Now, he does have this Marauder blocking the little gate there, so nothing's going to be getting in here. We do have the Zerglings coming here. What the Zerg player is trying to do is a backdoor attack. Now, it's probably not going to happen for a couple minutes, and it's actually going to be pretty much useless because this wall is already up. Now, Our Terran player has been massing quite well, both on 2 bases. Typically as Zerg, you want to be a base ahead. I'd say this expansion is several minutes late, especially considering the way this expansion went down. I guess you have the macro hatchery, which is alright if you're going for bling sling, as I would call it. Banelings and speedlings. So these mutalisks are going to fly around. Mutalisks, obviously the harassment weapon of choice, but the Terran player is completely prepared, maybe over prepared, with 6 missile turrets. That is a pretty hefty investment. Let's see what else is going on here. We have the Terran player moving for the high yield expansion. These Zerglings are still going at that ramp. 3 armor. You've got no upgrades on the Zerglings, which is probably going to be kind of critical in this game here, because when you're going against Marines that in one shot don't do all... Oh, we're going to lose these mutas? Okay, so he knows the mutas are there. We don't have any turrets on this particular expansion in the natural here, so that'll be something to watch out for. I'll keep an eye on those mutalisks on the mini-map. So we do have the new orbital command landing at the high yield. This is something that's great to do as Terran. You can build behind your wall, you build another expansion, you fly it over, you land it, and you are ready to go. So, interesting. So we've got this base saturated over here. We don't have any gas on it yet. Now, when you're going mutalisk, you need as much gas as you can get. 100 minerals, 100 gas is what they cost. We still have no upgrades, especially when you're going against units that fire quickly, that do little damage. 7 is not all that much damage, and if you can reduce that to 6, okay, that's going to make a big difference. When you have 10 Marines, that's 10 damage you're saving, okay, when you have that 1 armor upgrade. Armor and attack are so important. Oh, and we do have the armor here, so my point is well taken by the Zerg. I don't like this engagement. He didn't wait for his Banelings, and honestly, that's probably going to do it for this game. Those mutalisks are just not good enough against Marines. There's nothing this Zerg player can do. So I expect to see the game end pretty quickly here. Obviously, I know it's going to end pretty quickly. I need to figure out how to hide that. Oh, like that. Great. So, game's going to end here. Got a strong tank push by the Terran player. Looks like the Zerg player just... What this game came down to was attack timing. That final attack, the Zerg won. There's the GG. There's the end of the game. The Zerg actually won the initial engagement, but his attack there at the end, he didn't wait for his Banelings, and he didn't have enough stuff. And I'll probably cut the video off before that error shows up. So everybody, thank you for watching. I'm hoping to get more into this thing called casting. I'll be watching Cast It to cast amateur games, because I'm an amateur, obviously, as you can tell by this video. Appreciate you watching, and we'll talk to you later and see you next time.